Elon Musk reveals message that transformas even a millionaire in a black Mendigo. The city was a thunderstorm of restless steel and glowing screens, neon dreams splashing against cracked sidewalks where shadows clung like second skins. Among this chaos was David, a young inventor with hands that burned from long nights soldering wires and coding endless hope into circuits. Hope that barely flickered amid the roar of the city's endless machines. He looked up at towering glass palaces where wealth showed off in cold silver. Somewhere down below, in the underbelly he knew too well, others fought for scraps, invisible and dismissed. David's chest tightened every morning when he passed the polished lobbies and luxury cars. His own worn backpack and threadbare hoodie felt like a uniform of failure. The dreams that had once danced bright now felt like shadows lurking just ahead, always slipping away. Then he heard it, rumors swirling through every corner and cafe like wildfire. Elon Musk! It seemed impossible, yet something cracked inside him. A wild thread of hope. The day of the conference, the place was packed with sharp suits, buzzing drones, and eager faces lit by screens. David's heart was pounding hard, chest tight as if someone pressed their fist inside. Then, out of nowhere, he bumped into Sam. Sam was a man worn down by the streets, his skin weathered like scorched leather, eyes carrying a haunted silence. He smelled like smoke and loneliness. Yet when Sam spoke, his voice was unexpected, soft but sharp, full of dreams that never caught fire. Stories poured out, raw and ragged, lost love, broken promises, a past too heavy to carry alone. People look at me like I'm a disease, Sam said, voice cracking. Like I'm just invisible trash. But I got ghosts too, dreams that died in cold nights. David felt the lump rise in his throat, chest aching with sudden empathy. Here was another soul lost in the same crushing machine. As they talked, the room darkened and the crowd hushed. Elon Musk stepped onto the stage, eyes glowing from the spotlight. The air vibrated, electric, tense. His voice broke the silence, deep and measured. This isn't just about tech or money. It's about changing how we live, how we see each other. David's hands clenched. Sam's gaze was fixed, raw hope flickering between years of pain. A message wasn't just a key to wealth. It was a mirror held up to the soul, revealing empathy and personal transformation. The silence exploded into murmurs, a tidal wave of anticipation and fear. David glanced at Sam. Could he chase his own broken dreams, or use everything he'd learned to drag Sam out too? Their pasts screamed in their bones, trembling with every breath. The world outside judged them harshly, but that moment felt like a thin crack of light. Then it hit them, a strange connection, deeper than chance. Two stories, tangled by pain, by hope, and the fear of being swallowed by limits. The announcer's countdown pulsed through the hall. Elon's next words promised to rewrite everything they thought they knew. Could David and Sam face this change? Could they break free from their own prisons? Or were they doomed to become ghosts in a city that already forgot them? The truth waited just beyond the curtain, fierce and ruthless. Hey, Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. Whoops. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The room pulsed with energy as everyone leaned in, breaths held tight. Elon's words hung in the air, each sentence feeling like it could ignite the world. David's heart raced, the weight of his hopes and fears woven into the tension. Sam, standing beside him, seemed to glow in the dim light, a fragile flame fueled by their shared dreams. This was it, the moment of change. Then the unexpected happened. A loud crash shattered the silence. The doors flew open, and a figure stormed in, face twisted in anger, eyes ablaze. It was Jake, a former friend turned bitter rival of David's. His strong frame darkened the doorway, a storm personified, breathing chaos into the room. Shock rippled through the crowd. "Enough!" Jake's voice boomed, drowning the buzz of excitement. "Enough of this charade! You think he's here to save you? He's selling lies!" Gasps echoed, and the spotlight flickered, catching David's wide eyes filled with disbelief. Sam stepped back, confusion tightening his brow. Jake continued, his words slicing through the thick air. "You all blind? Elon Musk? He doesn't care about us. He's got his world, his riches. And you," he pointed sharply at David, "you think he's your ticket out? Look where that road ends." David clenched his fists, knuckles white, pulse racing. "You're wrong, Jake," he shouted, but doubt flickered like a candle in his chest. The crowd began to murmur. Eyes darted between Jake and Elon, confusion brewing like storm clouds. "Let him speak," someone shouted from the back, trying to reclaim the moment. But Jake pressed on, feeding the chaos. "Open your eyes. I know things. Elon's tech isn't built to help the thousands out there. It's for the elite. You, David, you're just another pawn in his game." David's heart sank, wondering if Jake's words had weight. The faces in the crowd shifted, some nodding, some scowling. Sam stood frozen, a flicker of fear in his eyes, as if Jake had peeled away the very skin of their hope. In one swift motion, the lights above flickered violently, plunging the auditorium into near darkness. Laughter and murmurs abruptly ceased. Panic radiated. What was happening? Had the city turned against them, silencing their dreams? But then came a harsh crackle. The lights blazed back to life, and Elon held the microphone tighter, anger etching lines on his face. "This is a misunderstanding," he yelled, attempting to shift the chaotic energy. But that doubt had sprouted, roots creeping through the crowd. "Don't believe the lies," Jake shouted, his voice like an urgent siren. "I lived in the streets, saw the facade. They sell you dreams while we starve. David's living in a fantasy." David felt his world tilting. The truth, sharp and cold, cut through his hopes like a cold knife. Sam, watching with wide eyes, seemed to fade. Who was David really? Just a dreamer, or yet another soul, lost in this giant machine? The air was electric, vibrating with an oncoming storm. Time froze as David searched for answers in Sam's gaze. wrestling with his own spiraling thoughts. What could he do with this information? Was everything they believed just a fragile web of illusions ready to unravel? Elon's next words would define their fate. The countdown began again, the crowd roaring back to life. But David felt lost, floating in uncertainty, caught between his past and a future slipping away. This was not just a moment, it was the edge of a cliff. Would he fall, or could he soar? The truth loomed, fierce and relentless. The countdown throbbed through the audience, a thundering pulse echoing in David's chest. The lights dimmed, the spotlight centered on Elon like a comet cutting through a starless night. Change isn't just a dream, it's a choice we make together, he roared, and the room exploded with energy. David felt it surge through him, igniting something dormant within. But then, silence. Like a sudden shatter, a ghastly scream ripped through the hall, slicing the electric atmosphere. It came from the back, where shadows intertwined with latecomers. David's heart raced as heads turned, eyes widening in horror. A figure stumbled into the aisle, clothes shredded, hands clamped over a gaping wound. It was a woman, her face pale, breath ragged, panic danced in her eyes. "Help!" "Oh, please, they're coming!" she cried, fingers clawing at the air, desperation spilling over. Gasps echoed like gunshots, fear spiking like lightning. David's throat tightened. Sam's startled expression mirrored his own terror. "What the hell?" Sam muttered, pulling David closer at the sight of the chaos spiraling around them. The hall erupted into confusion, bodies shifting, murmurs blending with panic. Then everything froze. Elon stepped forward, a frown etching across his features. "What's happening?" His voice lost its confidence, shaking like a leaf in a storm. Cameras captured the moment, his visage plastered across screens that flickered to life with confusion and dread. The woman collapsed, and the crowd surged backward. David caught a glimpse of what she was clutching in her other hand, a small device blinking like a heartbeat, wires extruding like veins. "There's no time. They're hacking everything," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They're not who you think. They're monitoring us all." A tide of disbelief rippled through the audience, frozen faces reflecting shock. Sam stared, mouth agape. "Monitoring?" he echoed, horror clawing at his throat. "What are you saying?" Suddenly, another voice burst through. The announcer, trembling. "Get security! We need to evacuate!" Frantic shuffles began. People broke free, abandoning their seats in a frantic rush. But it didn't end. It spiraled deeper. The woman's eyes flared with a wild intensity. "He's not just a businessman. He's part of it." Her finger pointed at Elon. "He's the reason for all of this." David's heart stopped. The world spun, a million thoughts colliding like a storm. How could Elon Musk, a beacon of innovation, be tangled in something sinister? The whispers grew louder, accusations hanging thick in the air. "Is it true?" Sam muttered, looking at David, uncertainty seeping into his voice. "What if he's been lying?" Elon's face twisted, confusion mixing with anger. "This is a mistake, a misunderstanding," he shouted. But doubt lingered in the air, starting to poison the atmosphere. The crowd reeled, fear morphing into rage. David felt his heart race, breath catching at his throat. Could it really be true? Was the man who inspired so many a puppet master pulling strings behind the scenes? Walls of the hall felt like they were closing in. The woman struggled to her knees, her fierce determination cutting through the chaos. You have to believe me! If they get in, if they control us, it's over! As chaos erupted and voices clashed, David's world shattered. Everything he trusted began to warp, leaving only questions in its wake. Guns weren't firing yet, but the threat loomed large, heavy as steel. All he could hear was the thundering of his heart and the echo of every dream he once had. The truth was slippery. It was like sand slipping through fingers. The revelation sat like a weight in his gut, leaving him gasping for clarity. What was real? What lay ahead? As shadows loomed, David felt the tightening grip of uncertainty, demanding to know, could he keep chasing the light, or was he destined to drown in darkness? David's world spun on a knife's edge. The chaotic crowd pulsed with fear and uncertainty, and the woman's voice echoed in his mind. Everything felt unreal, like a bad dream he couldn't wake up from. But then, something even stranger happened. In the midst of the chaos, a sudden flicker of light caught his attention. A dazzling flash that sent a ripple of silence through the audience. David squinted, trying to see through the shadows. He could feel the tension in the air, thick like smoke. And then, just like that, the lights exploded into a blinding, shimmering radiance. It felt like 1,000 suns illuminating the space all at once. David shielded his eyes, trying to understand the source. When he lowered his hands, he could hardly believe what he saw. Standing at the center of the stage, already lost in the brightness, was a woman. Her hair shone like gold, and her eyes flickered with energy that felt almost otherworldly. It was Lydia, his sister, whom he thought had disappeared years ago, swallowed by the very shadows he felt he was trapped in. She was there, alive, vibrant, defying everything David believed he knew about his past. "David!" she called out, her voice breaking through the noise like a beacon. "It's me! I'm back!" David's heartbeat thundered. Was this real? He hadn't seen her in what felt like forever. Questions flooded his mind faster than he could process them. As he stepped forward, the crowd gasped and murmured, the weight of the situation shifting once more. "Lydia, how?" His voice cracked, fear and relief intertwined. But then the energy in the room shifted coldly. The woman who had warned them about ELON stumbled backward, panic etched on her face. "No! This can't be right!" she screamed. "Not her! She's part of it!" Confusion erupted like wildfire. Lydia's light dimmed, fear flickering in sus ojos. "No, I'm not!" she pleaded, hands shaking. "I came to help." Chaos lit from person to person. People were torn between disbelief and something far darker. David felt the walls closing in again. What did that woman mean? Was Lydia part of whatever was happening? Heavy doubt swirled in his mind. Sam stepped closer, trying to protect David as if a shield against the chaos. "Is she here to save us or something else?" he asked, brow furrowing. David's chest tightened. Could he trust Lydia? The childhood memories flooded back. Her laughter, their games, the bond they had shared before everything fell apart. Yet, beneath the love, lay years of unanswered questions. dark corners of their family history he never dared explore. As the room intensified with shouting and accusations, Lydia gazed at David, pleading, "You have to believe me. I was forced to leave. There's so much I need to tell you." But the crowd was spinning out of control. Someone shouted, "You're working with them." Others joined in, shouting accusations like stones hurled in a riot. Elon stood off to the side. Fury and confusion mingled on his face. "This is absurd. She's not your enemy." But David felt the air crack with tension. Would he see Lydia as the sister he missed, or the stranger entwined in darkness? He felt torn. Her reappearance both a miracle and a curse, with one pull of the fabric of their reality. The ground seemed to tremble underfoot. Everything he thought he knew, friend, foe, hope, despair, was melting away like wax. What was next? The truth felt like a volcano waiting to erupt. And David stood on its edge, heart racing. Could he trust his sister, or had the shadows closed in too tightly to see? As the crowd surged around him, he knew they were on the brink of unraveling, teetering on the edge of something monumental, something that could change their lives forever. And the answers felt closer than ever. The announcer's countdown pulsed through the hall. Elon's next words promised to rewrite everything they thought they knew. But something shifted in the air, crackling like electricity. It was as if the universe held its breath, waiting. A hush fell over the crowd, deep enough to sense hearts racing and breaths hitching. At that moment, Sam stumbled back, eyes wide with fear. David instinctively reached for him, but a scream pierced the silence, shattering the tense anticipation. "Look out!" someone shouted from the back. Panic erupted in waves. Bodies jostled as mass confusion took hold. In the chaos, David blinked, trying to understand what was happening. And there it was, a flash, bright and blinding, cascading from the rear of the auditorium. The lights flickered. Faces twisted in terror. Some pushed toward exits, while others froze, grappling with the unknown. David's heart hammered. He turned to Sam, but the man was already stepping back, his haunted gaze fixed on the source of the horror. A flicker of flames dancing up the walls, smoke curling like sinister fingers. "Elon!" someone shouted, terror dripping from their voice. David's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a fire. This was a fight for survival. He felt hands pulling him back, people shoving past him. But in that chaos, he turned and saw Sam, eyes alight with something deeper than fear. Was that resolve? Then suddenly, like a scene out of a horror movie, a figure broke through the throng. It was a woman, wild-haired and frantic, holding something glimmering in her hands. A flash of metal. A gun? David's breath hitched. Was this a robbery gone wrong? She raised it, screaming something about a conspiracy, about betrayal, piercing the air with her screech. "David, get down!" Sam yelled, grabbing him by the arm. Before he could process, the woman swung toward them, eyes blazing with madness. "They're lying. They're all lying." She fired shots into the air, glass shattered, screams erupted. The world spun, too fast, too chaotic. David dropped to the floor, pulling Sam down with him. The room exploded with panic as people scrambled for the exits. Sam's hand gripped David's wrist tightly, connecting them like a lifeline in the storm. "Who is she?" David gasped, panic choking his words. "I don't know," Sam shouted back, but David could see the fear in his eyes. something deeper than just self-preservation. Then it clicked. The woman was a part of something else. The fire, the chaos, it wasn't random. She was here to expose something. And suddenly, something in David's chest tightened. What if her crazed accusations held truth? What if this moment was more than a desperate act? As sirens blared from afar, a new layer of tension filled the air. The pain of their struggles, the daily judgments and struggles, loomed large now. The surface of their lives threatened to be ripped apart. In that chaos, Sam's voice broke through. "David, we need to get out!" But a lump rose in David's throat, echoing questions that began to gnaw at him. Could everything they'd known be built on lies? Did Elon's promise of transformation hide darker truths? Were David and Sam threads in a much larger tapestry of deception? As more shots rang out, reality twisted in on itself. The truth was there, lurking just beneath the smoke and the screams. And they were caught right in the middle. What awaited them outside? And who would they become when the storm passed? Elon's voice hung heavy in the air. The crowd leaned in closer, breaths caught. This is not just a message. This is a challenge to all of you. The moment felt electric, like a live wire. David's heart raced, pounding against his ribs. Sam's eyes, wide and hungry for hope, glistened with anticipation. But then, crash! A blinding flash. The room shook as glass shattered like falling stars. People screamed, confusion erupting into chaos. David felt the world tilt, the heavy air transforming into a suffocating weight. Shock swapped the thrill of hope for sheer panic. He grabbed Sam's arm, pulling him toward a doorway. "We need to get out!" But then came the shouts. "Look!" Someone pointed at the stage. A figure lay crumpled, and Elon, his face twisted in horror, had fallen to the ground. His mic lay in pieces on the floor, mocking the promise he had just stirred in every heart. Time slowed. Sam froze, eyes darting between David and the chaos. "What just happened?" he whispered. The energy that had sparked in the room now morphed into murmurs of disbelief. As the crowd moved, instinct took over. People stepped over one another, tripping on feet and broken dreams. David felt uncertainty swallow him. He pulled Sam toward the exit, but their eyes were glued to the stage. Paramedics rushed in, breaking through the sea of bodies. Knees heavy on the ground beside the fallen figure, cloaked in a dark suit. Something shifted in the air. Was this just an accident? Or was it something darker? David found himself choking on his thoughts. MUSK lay there, thoughts of revolution now distant echoes. Factions grew between those wanting to escape and those desperate to see. Whispers echoed through the fray. "He was poisoned! Someone did this!" Suddenly, all attention jerked back to David and Sam, like knives thrown at their feet. A woman with a voice like thunder stood tall, drenched in fear, but fierce. It could have been anyone. "We need to find the one who did this." Her eyes glimmered with accusation, and the crowd turned on itself, searching for a scapegoat. Then Sam stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "It could be anyone," he echoed. But it could also be us. David caught his breath. The tension pulsated, splitting the room into factions. By declaring blame, had Sam just led them down a path of destruction? How do we even know what's real anymore? David shot back, his voice cracking. Sam trembled, the darkness in the room reflecting in his gaze. Then a figure stepped from the back. David's heart sank. It was the last person he expected. Sarah, a tangled part of their past, walked through the crowd with a calmness that ill-fitted the chaos. Everyone parted, like the Red Sea, her presence an uninvited storm. "What do you want?" David shouted, feeling the walls close in. "Don't you see?" Her voice sliced the air, unafraid. "I know what you both hide." Gasps filled the room. David felt raw, panic rising like bile. Sam's eyes widened, shocked into silence. "Everything falls apart tonight," she continued. "Your dreams, your pain, it's all so much closer to the truth than you think." Shouts brewed around them. David felt the eyes of the world circle him like vultures. His past suddenly felt like shackles. Was she the key to something they had all been hiding? Or the harbinger of their destruction? In that turbulent moment, the crowd erupted. Fingers pointed, accusations flew, fear sliced through the thrumming chaos. And as the truth loomed just out of grasp, David knew all foundations teetered on the edge of a knife. What would happen next? What dark secrets awaited to unfurl in the light of day? The countdown pulsed in rhythm with David's heartbeat, each second dragging on like an eternity. Sam's eyes were fixed on Elon, a mixture of hope and fear flickering in the depths. The crowd held its breath, all of them poised on the edge of something huge, something beyond the glow of the screens, past the flashing lights. Elon cleared his throat, voice echoing in the silence. "It's time to rethink everything about wealth, success, and how we lift each other up." His words hung in the air, heavy and electric, like static before a storm. Just then, a loud crash resonated through the venue. The sound shattered the tension. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Eyes darted toward the source, and within moments, chaos erupted as the audience turned and reeled back in horror. A figure stumbled into view. A woman, wild-eyed and ragged, pushing past security. "Elon!" she screamed, voice raw and frantic. "You think you can change everything? You don't understand! You don't know what you're doing!" She was holding something tightly, something wrapped in a tattered scarf. David's stomach twisted. There was something urgent, something terrible about her presence. A hush had fallen, but the tension was palpable, buzzing like a live wire. Elon's calm facade began to crack. "Ma'am, please, you need to—" But she lunged forward, wild determination in her gaze. She tore the scarf away. The crowd gasped collectively as a flash of metal glimmered under the stage lights. A gun. The air grew dense with dread. "You don't get to mess with our lives!" she screamed, voice quaking. "You're just a techie playing with our pain!" Hand trembling, Sam's body tensed. David felt his heart stop, caught between wanting to run and thrusting himself in front of Sam to shield him. Cold sweat dripped down his back. They were trapped in a cage of uncertainty, and the world outside felt utterly unreal. Sam's voice came low, almost a whisper. "We need to get out of here." But he didn't move. The fear that had stitched their pain together now bound them in place. Elon raised his hands, trying to calm the panicking crowd. "Everyone, stay back! This is not how we solve problems." His voice was steady, but there was a crack in his confidence. David could see it, the flicker of panic beneath the surface. Dome. Suddenly, the woman's expression shifted, cracking like glass. Tears streamed down her dirt-smeared cheeks. "My brother, he was lost because of you. You sell dreams, and we can't afford the price. Tell them the truth." David's mind raced. What truth? Behind her desperate eyes lay a story that didn't make sense. Who was she? How did she know Elon? The crowd was a mix of murmurs, whispers, and the scent of rising fear. Sam twisted, glancing at David, desperation etched in his features. The heaviness of their past felt dense, a weight that threatened to collapse around them. Elon stepped cautiously down from the stage, inching closer. "Please," he said softly, a fragile peace in his tone. "What happened to your brother? I want to understand." The moment hung on the brink. The city outside, the dreams they clung to, the agony of each other's suffering. It all collided in that split second. Was she the voice of something deeper, a haunting truth they had ignored? Before David could pull Sam back or ponder what it all meant, the woman tightened her grip, her eyes flaring with resolve. "You'll understand soon enough." Everything exploded in chaos, a flash of movement, darkness swallowing clarity, and in that moment, David felt something shift inside, a dark thread of fear weaving into his heart. As screams echoed and shadows danced around him, one truth twisted painfully in the back of his mind. Nothing would ever be the same again. Could they grasp their dreams now? Or had the moment already slipped away like a whisper in the storm? The air crackled with tension, heavy and suffocating. David felt his heart pound like a drum, each thud echoing his fears. The woman, wild and frantic, stood there, gun trembling in her hand. People around him were caught in confusion and terror, eyes darting back and forth. "Get back!" someone shouted, pushing through the throng. Fear etched across their face. But David couldn't move. He was locked in, a captive of the moment. Lydia's figure fell further back in his mind, lost amid the chaos. The sound of the woman's voice cut through everything. "You're the reason my brother died. You don't care about us. This machine you call progress, it eats people whole." Elon's face was tense, now a mix of irritation and fear. "Please, I can help you. Let's talk this through." His eyes flickered to David, searching for allies, but David felt torn. Was this really the man who could change their lives? And then it happened. A deafening blast that rocked the room. The gun went off, sound shattering into a million echoes. David froze. A scream lodged in his throat, but to his shock, he saw not blood nor mayhem erupting in front of him. Instead, a blinding, brilliant flash enveloped the room, washing over everything like lightning in a storm. "What the hell?" he whispered, eyes squinting against the light. Around him, bodies tumbled, and terrified shouts blended into a cacophony. As the light faded, David blinked back fear, confusion written all over his face. The woman stood frozen, the gun still in her grip, but now the metal was reflecting something else, something unnerving. From behind her, a figure emerged. Tall, striding with purpose, dressed in black, a chill ran down David's spine when he recognized him. A man from his past, someone he never thought would show up here. It was Mason, his father. "Enough, Sarah!" Mason's voice boomed, cutting through the chaos. "Step aside, you're being manipulated." The room hushed. All eyes turned toward Mason, shock swirling in pulses through the crowd. David blinked, disbelief crashing over him. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Mason kept his gaze locked on the woman, urgency racing across his features. "I said step aside." Everything else faded. The weight of memories crashed down on David. Flashes of laughter, love, abandonment. He felt dizzy. Why was this happening? "But," Sarah stammered, fear rising through her voice, "I just wanted to expose the truth." "Not like this, not through hate," Mason shouted, urgency morphing into desperation. "Don't you see? You're playing right into their hands." The crowd was paralyzed, hearts pounding as he spoke. David felt as if the world spun around him like a dizzying whirlpool. What did Mason know? What truth lay hidden beneath the surface? "Why are you here?" David managed, words strangled, confusion roiling within. "What do you know?" Mason shifted his focus, eyes piercing through the chaos. "All that you think you understand is about to unravel. You're just puppets in a larger game." Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. Shadows danced wildly as a cold breeze flooded in. A feeling of impending doom pressed against David's chest. And then, there it was, a flicker of recognition from the back. Lydia stepped forward, her voice clear and trembling. "Dad, why didn't you tell me?" Gasps echoed through the crowd. The connection was undeniable. David's pulse quickened. What had he missed? Was Lydia more than just his sister? The truth crashed around him like thunder. "No!" Mason breathed, caught between shock and anger. "You shouldn't have known yet!" The finality crashed over David like a tidal wave. Everything he thought he had known was beginning to fracture. This wasn't just about the conference, or Elon, or Sarah's desperate plea. It was about family ties, woven in secrets and forgotten pasts. Had they all been players in a twisted game? And suddenly, the room felt smaller, each revelation pressing in around them. How deep did this rabbit hole go? What other truths lay hidden in the shadows, waiting to rise? As he stared at Lydia, doubt gnawed at his mind. Was this a pivot towards hope, or simply the edge of more chaos? The truth grew closer, yet equally elusive. What was coming next? And would they be ready? David's heart raced as he locked eyes with Lydia. The tension in the room thickened, something primal rumbling within him. Could he trust her? He felt his throat tighten, not just from fear, but from the weight of 1,000 unasked questions. The truth stretched like a tightrope above the abyss of their past. Sam stood next to him, eyes wide, silently demanding answers. Mason's voice sliced through the chaos again. "You need to listen to me. They've created a web of lies so intricate that it ensnares all of us." The crowd murmured, emotions shifting like sand beneath their feet. David felt the ground quaking, dreams teetering, all based on fragile foundations. "Dad, what do you mean?" Lydia's voice trembled, tinged with urgency that sent chills down David's spine. The familiar bond of sibling connection suddenly felt burdened by years of separation. "What are you hiding?" Before Mason could respond, A flicker of movement caught David's attention. It was Sarah, still standing defiantly, her gun unwavering. "You're all missing the point. You need to wake up!" Her voice echoed through the hall, a chorus of vulnerability, woven with a fierce desire for justice. And then something in the air shifted. A bright flash erupted from the stage, bright enough to cut through the shadows, bringing everything into stark relief. Gasps filled the auditorium, eyes wide with dread and disbelief. Smoke curled upward, billowing from behind the backdrop, like a demon set loose from its chains. David's breath hitched. He squinted through the confusion, heart pounding in sync with the rising heat. And then, before anyone could react, an explosion rocked the stage. "Get down!" someone screamed, but it was too late. A blast filled the air with the scent of burnt metal and confusion. The walls trembled. Glass shattered and chaos collapsed upon them like a tidal wave. David dove to the floor, pulling Sam with him. The crowd turned into a whirlwind of bodies, panic driving each person away from what was unfolding. Through the smoky haze, David caught sight of Lydia, her face twisted in horror. "David!" she cried, reaching out as if they could bridge the distance between shattered dreams and looming danger. He tried to stand, but the thrumming chaos pinned him down. "Is this what you wanted?" Sarah's voice cut through the noise, high and desperate. "To expose the truth? At what cost?" In that moment, a piercing scream echoed, like a knife through the air, drawing everyone's focus. It was the woman who had brought chaos, now caught in panic. In a state of disbelief, she stumbled backwards, eyes wide with terror. "It's too late! You'll never escape!" she shrieked, pulling at her hair like a wild animal. "This was never about revolution. You're all pawns. You've been played." Mason took a step toward her, expression etched with urgency. "You need to stop. This isn't how it works." And then it happened. It was so sudden, so shocking. A second explosion erupted from the stage, sending debris flying like deadly confetti. A steel beam broke free, crashing down towards David. He went cold, frozen in place. With an earth-shattering crash, the world before him shattered into chaos. As he struggled to comprehend, he caught a glimpse of Lydia's face, morphing from panic to something darker, something he hadn't seen before. Their eyes met, and time seemed to still. "David, I've gone." But the words hung there, heavy with unspoken secrets. The destruction echoed back, reverberating through the very core of the venue. As smoke filled the air, David's heart raced, caught between fear and an unfathomable realization. Lydia wasn't just his sister. She was part of something far more sinister. Guilt washed over him as doubt clawed at his insides. Was she in league with them? "Lydia, what did you do?" Sam whispered, panic creeping into his voice. And as the realization struck him like lightning, a chilling thought crept into David's mind. Was this chaos the plan all along? Had they all been manipulated into a game they couldn't escape? As the crowd melted into confusion, the room sat heavy with fear and unanswered questions. The truth lay at their feet, yet remained shrouded in smoke and the unbearable silence of lost trust. What awaited them in the aftermath? What dark secrets would surface when the smoke finally cleared? ELON lay still, lights flashing above him, chaos swirling like a violent storm. David struggled to comprehend what had just happened. The explosion's echo faded, but the fear remained. His heart raced as he scrambled to find Sam and Lydia. They were all affected, pulled into this dark tide that threatened to pull them under. Leah was crouched near Elon, checking for any sign of life. "David! He's breathing!" Her voice was a lifeline, drawing him back from the brink of panic. Sam was beside David, wide-eyed, caught between disbelief and the need to act. The crowd, a chaotic sea of faces, began to shift, their fears morphing into urgency. Some ran for the exits, while others turned back, drawn by a desperate hope for answers. David felt the tension in the air, a collective weight pressing down on them all. "Help him!" David shouted, rushing to his sister's side. Lydia nodded, determination stealing her expression. Together, they worked to stabilize Elon, who was groaning, coming back to awareness. "What happened?" Elon rasped, looking between them, fear flashing in his eyes. "A woman," Sam stammered, memory flooding back. "She had a gun. You were—" "Sarah," David breathed, recognition dawning within the chaos. She was so desperate. Elon's eyes widened. She knew something vital. His hands clutched at the floor, pulling himself up slowly. The crowd murmured, shifting uneasily. A mix of emotions filled the air. Fear, confusion, and a flicker of hope. Lydia glanced back, her voice steady. "We have to find her, if she was right." "About what?" David interrupted, mind racing. "About what she said? What else does she know?" Just then, the scream of sirens filled the air outside. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the chaos to settle. In the moments that followed, people turned to each other, eyes wide with uncertainty. Mason stepped back into view, glancing at the three of them. "You need to understand, this goes deeper. They've created a system, and we're all entangled in it." "Please," Lydia's voice trembled. "What are you talking about?" David looked at Mason, disbelief sparking within him. "What do you mean? Who are they?" But before Mason could reply, Sarah burst back into the room, eyes frantic and wild. "I wasn't wrong! You don't realize what's happening here!" Her voice broke, a mixture of anger and fear spilling over. "We're all fools if we think we're free." The crowd erupted into whispers, some agreeing, others shaken into silence. David felt the fabric of everything begin to unravel. This is the moment. We have to unite. Elon's voice rose above the noise, an unexpected rallying call. We can't let this chaos tear us apart. Truth must resound. Slowly, people began to form groups, overpowered by a new sense of determination. David and Lydia glanced at each other. Something was igniting, a spark in the heat of conflict. "Sarah, what if we link our stories?" Lydia suggested. "Your pain and our hope, it could change everything." The idea hung in the air, a fragile thread linking their desperation. David saw Sarah's hand lower the gun, shaking beneath the weight of realization. "Maybe, if we uncover everything together, we can turn this tide." Around them, the crowd began to murmur in agreement. David felt the ember of hope igniting in his chest. They were standing on the precipice of change. But as they moved forward, another flicker of darkness crossed his mind. What if it was all a trap? What if they were still being manipulated? In that fleeting moment, he understood that every step taken now mattered. There was no turning back. As the crowd began to chant their determination, David realized that this was only the beginning. Unity pulsed through them like electricity, and the walls of doubt began to crack. Standing with his sister and Sam, David took a deep breath, ready to step into the unknown. This was the moment. You have to subscribe now! Don't miss a second of the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now, feed the algorithm, and keep this story alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about what just happened. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be part of the journey. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel. Let's get on to this adventure together.